A side hustle starts as a feeling. You make something for a friend and someone else asks to buy it. You help a colleague with a skill and they send you a gift card in thanks. You post a before and after and 3 strangers slide into your messages asking for a quote. Energy gathers. Then, at some point, you face the real question: do you have a business or do you have a hobby that occasionally pays you in applause and coffee money? The answer matters because it changes what you track, how you price, how you schedule your time, and whether the work you do builds freedom or steals weekends. This is a plain English field guide to draw that line, to move it on purpose if you decide to, and to build a small, profitable engine that respects your life. The difference between a hobby and a business is not scale, it is intent and structure. A hobby says, I do this when I feel like it, and any money that shows up is a pleasant accident. A business says, I solve a specific problem for specific people on a schedule, charge on purpose, track the math, and improve the machine over time. A hobby is a mood with receipts. A business is a promise with systems. Neither is morally superior, both have a place. But pretending a hobby is a business creates anxiety and tax messes, and pretending a business is a hobby keeps you undercharging until resentment arrives dressed as burnout. Begin with purpose, not paperwork. Why did you start? If your reason is joy, mastery, community, a place for identity to play outside your job, you may want to keep the boundaries gentle. If your reason is to change your financial slope, build optionality, and eventually buy back time, you need business bones. Purpose decides the next move. Because the moment you say business, you are committing to 3 disciplines: calendar, customer, and cash. Calendar means you show up when you said you would, even when you are tired. Customer means you design around a person's problem, not your creative impulse of the day. Cash means you price for profit, track for taxes, and keep a wall between business and personal money so you can see the truth. There is a simple test to discover what you are running right now. Write 1 sentence that names your offer to a stranger. It must include the outcome you deliver, the person who cares, the proof you can do it, and the next step. If you cannot write this without clearing your throat, you are likely in hobbyland. A candle maker who is a business can say, I create clean-burning, custom-scent candles for boutique hotels that want guest rooms to smell like their brand with lead times under 2 weeks. Here is my portfolio, here is how to order the sample pack. A photographer running a hobby says, I take photos of lots of things, message me and we'll figure it out. Specificity is not about narrowing your joy, it is about making it easy for money to find you. If you choose the business lane, structure protects your energy. Open a separate banking account, even if you are a sole proprietor. Assign it a name. Route every sale and every expense through it. You will instantly stop lying to yourself about how much you are earning because the balance will tell the truth. With a separate account, you can see margin. Without one, you mix groceries with shipping labels and your brain calls the swirl growth. You do not need complex software to start. A simple spreadsheet and a box for receipts will carry you until volume demands more. What you track at minimum, sales by product or service, direct costs per product or per project, recurring overhead, one-time purchases, and the time it took. Time is an expense even when nobody invoices you for it. A hobby hides time under enthusiasm. A business prices it. Pricing, the heartbeat, reveals your category. Hobbies price by feelings. What you would pay if you were a customer, what friends paid, what your stomach can handle. Businesses price by math and market. The math is cost of materials or direct inputs, plus time priced at a sustainable rate, plus overhead allocation, plus a profit margin that lets you invest and survive slow months. The market is what similar outcomes fetch from similar customers. Often, the gap between your current price and a business price is dramatic because you've been selling your time at a discount and calling it generosity. Generosity is fine when you decide it. It is a problem when it is the only way anyone says yes. If the business price makes customers disappear, you do not have a business in that lane yet. You have a subsidy model. Change the lane, the customer, the scope, or the channel until your price and their yes overlap. Scope creep is where hobbies drown. A friend asks for one more tweak. A client asks for just a little extra. You agree because you are nice and because your self-worth is still tied to pleasing people. A business writes scope before work begins, with clear deliverables, rounds of revisions, boundaries on communication, and consequences for delays on either side. You can still be warm, you are simply professional about the container. Boundaries convert creativity into repeatable service. Boundaries convert crafts into products. Boundaries let you say yes again next month because this month did not eat you. Customer fit turns a noisy side hustle into a quiet one. Hobbies say yes to everyone because attention is the prize. Businesses say no to the wrong fit because results are the prize. You choose a narrow who that you can reach without begging, who has money or budget to spend, who hates a problem you can remove, and who will tell their friends. You choose a channel where those people already gather. If you build websites for solo therapists, live where they talk, in local associations, online groups for clinicians, small practice forums. If you bake for corporate events, your channel is office managers and EA networks, not midnight DMs to influencers. If your work shines in person, you build a tiny route of pop-ups in places where your buyer already shops. Hobby hustles shout into the void. Businesses whisper in the right lobby. Time turns the crank. You only have so much. A hobby takes what life gives and fits itself into the cracks. A business blocks time. The trick is to choose less time than you think you need. If you declare 20 hours a week on top of a full-time job and family, your life will revolt and you will quit. Declare 4 to 8 hours on specific days with a specific focus. 2 hours selling, 2 hours producing, 2 hours improving, 2 hours administration. Then you lock those slots like they are a class you paid for. You stop rescheduling them for chores. You learn that consistent small slots beat heroic bursts followed by collapse. Delivery speed and reliability are currency. Hobbies deliver when inspiration meets free time. Businesses deliver on Tuesday at 4 p.m. because that is what the invoice said. Reliability is a brand. Reliability is portable. Even if your early work is simple, if it arrives on the dot, friendly and done, you will out-earn fancier operators who deliver when the weather is right. Build tiny service standards. Respond to inquiries within 1 business day. Ship by the date you promised or earlier. Send a clear invoice with payment methods that don't make customers wrestle their wallets. Every friction you remove buys you repeat business without ads. Marketing is persuasion, but it is mostly clarity and proof. Hobbies market by posting when they remember and by hoping that a pretty picture will sell a complicated offer. Businesses market by telling the same simple story 100 ways: who it's for, what it does, why it works, how to start. Proof is better than poetry. Before and after photos, testimonials with specifics, simple case studies that show the before problem, the thing you did, and the measurable after. Proof lets your customers do the persuading for you. You don't need perfect brand design at first. You need clean words and a path to buy. Taxes and compliance do not need to be scary. They do need dates. A hobby ignores legal structures and praise. A business looks up the basic rules in your country or state, registers the simplest compliant form, collects any required sales tax where applicable, and sets aside a percentage of every sale in a separate tax subaccount, so surprise bills stop being surprises. When your volume grows, you hire a bookkeeper for a few hours a month to keep the books clean, and a tax pro to check your work. The goal is not to memorize forms. It is to respect the game so the game respects you. Clean books reduce anxiety, so your brain returns to the part that earns. Iteration is the engine that transforms a hobby into a business without losing the joy. You run small experiments and you measure. Change your offer from wide to narrow and watch conversion. Change your lead time and watch how many customers complete checkout. Raise price and add guarantees. Monitor refunds. Bundle items into kits to raise average order value. Track whether shipping complexity cancels the benefit. Offer a subscription for your most reorderable product and see whether churn eats margin or whether predictability makes your weeks calmer. The point is not to split test like a Silicon Valley lab. The point is to stop guessing and to let your numbers tell you which version of your hustle belongs in your life.
There is a sanity threshold for businesshood. If your side hustle cannot pay for its own costs, pay you a fair rate for the hours you work, and contribute at least a modest surplus to your household within a defined season, it is a hobby for now. That doesn't mean stop. It means stop pretending. It means stop moving big rocks in your life for something that does not return the favor yet. Give it a season to grow within constraints. If it passes the threshold, graduate it. If it doesn't, let it be what it is without shame. A hobby does not need to justify itself by cash alone. Joy and community are valid returns. What's corrosive is dragging a hobby into the business lane and then punishing yourself for not meeting numbers that were never honest. Let's make this practical with a quick diagnostic that takes one afternoon. First, list your last 3 months of side hustle activity: hours spent per week, gross sales, direct costs, overhead, and a guess at the hours you did not count because you were just fiddling. Second, write down 3 ideal customer descriptions using real people you actually served, including what they asked for, what they loved, and what bothered them. Third, price one flagship offer using business math and check it against market rates. Fourth, write your 1-sentence offer and a 3-step path to buy. Fifth, draft a weekly schedule with 2 sales hours, 2 production hours, 2 improvement hours, and 2 admin hours. At the end, you'll know whether you have a machine you can test or a craft you can enjoy. Either answer is a map. Fear will try to keep you in vague land. Vague feels safe because nobody can reject it. Specific risks rejection but earns respect. Specific lets you see whether the hustle belongs at your kitchen table or on your calendar. If rejection stings, adjust the storytelling, not the self. Ask 5 customers what nearly stopped them from buying and what finally made them buy. Improve that part. Ask what outcome surprised them most. Sell that. Ask what didn't matter. Delete that from your sales page and your energy budget. You are not chasing likes. You are hunting for language that bends the world toward yes. There is a relationship cost to growth. Weeknights used to be for rest. Now they are for invoices. Saturdays used to be for friends. Now they are for markets. Do not grow by stealth. Write a short memo to your people about what you are doing and why, how long this season will last, and what boundaries you promise. I'm building this to test whether it can become my Fridays. For 12 weeks, I'll be working Wednesday nights and early Saturday mornings. I will not disappear. Please hold me accountable to 2 real rest blocks each week. Honor the memo. Rest is not optional. Burnout is a hostile takeover that pretends to be ambition. If you need more hours, buy them with money by delegating chores at home or by hiring help in the business, not by stealing them from sleep until your body hands you a bill. Hiring, even tiny, is a fork in the road from hobby to business. The first hire is usually a robot, automation for invoices, scheduling, email replies, or shipping labels. The second hire is a human for the repeatable tasks that choke your day: editing, packing, cleaning gear, answering common questions. The third hire is expertise for the things you do poorly and slowly: bookkeeping, taxes, web maintenance. Hiring feels expensive because you've been paying yourself zero. Once you pay yourself, you see that paying others to do $15 work so you can do $60 work is how the math turns into time. This is not corporate theater. It is the smallest version of scale, and it can live in a studio apartment without making noise. If your aim is to graduate the side hustle into your main thing, design your runway with boring numbers. You choose a monthly revenue target that replaces a conservative percentage of your salary after taxes and benefits. You choose a consistency rule, like 4 out of 6 months at or above target. You choose a savings cushion, like 6 months of living expenses plus 3 months of business overhead. You choose milestone gear purchases that will make you faster without committing you to a completely new cost base. Then you declare a decision window in the calendar. When the window arrives, you look at the rules, not your mood. You jump if the rules say jump. If they don't, you breathe and keep building. You are not failing to be brave. You are succeeding at not setting your future on fire for a headline in your head. Sometimes the right answer is to keep a hobby beautiful. The market may distort your joy. You may love painting precisely because nobody gets to tell your brush where to go. You may love baking precisely because you only do it for the people you choose. If selling ruins the taste, stop selling. Keep the craft, kill the invoicing. Free yourself from hustle propaganda that says every passion must pay. Money is a tool. It is not a ritual that blesses your talent. If you need income, find a different service to monetize, one that you can standardize without injuring the part of you that needs play. Sometimes the right answer is to admit you grew a business by accident and it deserves respect. You raised your prices 3 times, and customers still queue. You're booked out 2 months. You wake up excited even on delivery days. You have proof. Then you do the adult things. You register the structure. You separate the money. You rewrite the website from "I love making things" to "Here is what you get." You train a helper. You implement wait lists and deposits. You say no to the wrong customers because saying yes to them is saying no to your health. You turn down work that erodes your margins.
You become boring on purpose so you can be brilliant where it counts. Whether you end up on the hobby side or the business side, the metric that matters is the same. Does this work make your life bigger? Bigger can mean more money, more options, more community, more skill, more meaning. Bigger does not mean more hours. Bigger does not mean more boxes in your hallway. Bigger does not mean more strangers in your phone. Bigger might mean fewer better clients. Bigger might mean learning to invoice without apologizing. Bigger might mean a quiet pride when you send your quarterly taxes with cash you set aside calmly. Bigger might mean keeping your Saturdays for the people who look you in the eye and know your name. The line between hobby and business is not a fence, it's a slider. You can move it up for a season and slide it down when life asks. You can hold it in the middle and harvest both joy and cash in a humane ratio. The only trap is pretending the slider doesn't exist and then wondering why you feel pulled in half. Put your hand on the control. Move it on purpose. Name what you are building aloud to yourself and to anyone else who shares your kitchen. Then follow through with the handful of moves that make that name true. Separate money, specific offer, calendar slots, prices that include profit, delivery on time, gentle marketing that shows proof, small experiments each month. Give it 90 days. See what grows, choose again. That is how adults build small things that matter without burning down the rest of their life.